All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, bringing you brand new interviews every week. There's about 50 on this channel right now that you can go back and binge watch, take a look at, and please make sure that you subscribe so that we can keep getting the word out and get more interviews. Today, we've got a guest with a long career, so we don't want to waste too much time, even though that is the name of the channel. You might know him from the band Jellyfish. You might know him as the lead singer from Slash's Snakepit, guitar player for Alice Cooper, Imperial Drag, Sextus, and brand new project, the Licorice Quartet. We are going to talk about all that and more right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. All right, let's welcome Eric Dover.
Hello, all. Hello, Jason.
Also known as the Lord Antiseptic.
Right. Well, that's my side gig. So,
well,
I just go around spraying Lysol on people, and
yeah, you've got a lot. You know, and for people who might not be completely familiar with you, Eric, you are the kind of guy who can do almost any gig and play almost anything. You have that reputation for being able to step into projects. When I first met you, it's hard to believe it was probably 2008 now. Sin City Sinners band I manage here in Las Vegas, we brought you out to guest, and you ended up playing 3 hours in a little bar, and you can sing and play a billion songs. And then when our singer from that project ended up getting a gig with Slash, we were desperate. And so oddly enough, you were affiliated with Slash also. We brought you in to do a bunch of shows with us. And we've been trying to convince you to move to Las Vegas ever since, but no luck yet. And so we were so fortunate to have you play. And then in my own band, in my punk band, Sin City Rejects, you know, some of my guys are motivationally challenged. And we had a show at the Viper Room. We were doing a few shows with the Dead Boys. And we played Vegas the night before. And I said, who am I going to get to play these ridiculous punk songs and original songs on short notice? Eric Dover. And you came in and you were amazing. You sang these songs, probably the one that just played in the credits that you never heard before. And you played them better than the guys who were playing them for years. So my point is, Eric, you're a guy who's in high demand.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean that's it's great listening to these memories. That's the last time I've actually played the Viper Room, was with you guys. And I did a double header that night too. I actually played in the South Bay right after, so I couldn't stay. I wanted to see the Dead Boys, man. It was, but so yeah, like how time has flown, and we've definitely done some cool shows over the years, I think. I mean, and I'm just happy to oblige. I'm not going to move to Vegas, but I can visit. I do like to visit, but
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's not that far.
Not at all. I just want to get the. I used to have a convertible, like a Mustang convertible. I'm looking for a ride to take me out. You know, on the freeway, open-ended, that I can rent, that's exciting enough, and maybe we could play some shows. I don't even really gamble.
Well, I think there could be some things, and not gambling is a good thing. That means you're always going to leave ahead.
Right. I mean, I'll throw a nickel in here and there, but yeah, man, I was out there for Troy Patrick Farrell's wedding. It was the last time I was in Vegas, and that was right before all the, whatever hit the fan. So yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of obfuscating the word so you don't get flagged if you put it on YouTube.
Well, there's that, and then like when I do these interviews, it's been so much fun not talking about current events. There's no better time to talk about the past than now, and I feel like people are sitting at home and they want entertainment. You can flip on the news if you want to dwell on these other things.
Yeah, I don't do that myself either. Fortunately, I'm so busy that I have little time to do anything else other than confront what is on my plate for the day, and that's been a good way to stay sane. So, but my life has never really changed that much anyway, because I'm kind of a hermit. I sort of just work all the time, and then I'll go out and play, and then I'll come home and pet the cats and just have my normal life or whatever.
When I
It's kind of
started,
boring.
when I started this, you were definitely one of the people that I really wanted to do it. But I said, I'm not sure that Eric is, you know, you are sort of a private person. I said, I'm not sure he's up to sit and reminisce about his career, but fortunately you were.
Yeah, I am from time to time. I mean, it's weird. I was talking to someone last night, and it was like, uh, they were talking about giving their music to some friends, and like some of their really well-established music friends were like totally into it, and then they had other friends that weren't so into it. And I was saying, music is subjective, and I forgot where the hell I was going with this exactly, but where in the fuck was I going with this?
Well, we were talking about you
Yeah.
maybe not sitting and reminiscing about your career all the time, and you were
Oh,
saying,
well, yeah, you're just talking about it. So when you're, like, I don't even have time to listen to anything that I've done, and I rarely do. That's my point.
yeah,
My point really is that once it's done, it's almost on to the next thing. So it's sort of Scott Walker-ish approach. I can't do it, but then occasionally, times like this, it's nice to go back and reminisce or go, hey, I like the way that song came out, but I don't dwell on it at all because it just kind of puts me in a weird mood.
well, it might be best to keep moving too, like a shark. You got to keep swimming. You can't stop and think about the past.
I think that's kind of more where it's at. Like you can get kind of mercurial in your pursuit of artistry, and that's good. It's good to burn the flame a little bit, but you sort of want to be around long enough to keep making music. So I don't want to like burn out. And the great thing about just having some kind of life, where you can draw from your experiences and then write about if you want, or those things are important. But yeah, well, there's the end of that.
Yeah, well, that end will start our beginning. I joke, Eric, that you're the pride of Jasper, Alabama. And Jasper, Alabama is a small town. I think now they say population might be around 15,000.
Yeah, it may have shrunk even from the time when I was growing up there because, unfortunately, unemployment and drugs have ravaged it. Plus, there was a bypass installed, freeways. So it used to be a major trucking route from Mobile up to Memphis. So, and I lived right on it. It was the 78 highway. But since they installed the bypass, time has kind of passed Jasper by to a large extent, and the coal mining industry was a lot of coal mining, Walker County. So my grandfather was a coal miner. My uncle was a coal miner. Like literally everyone, that's what they did. So
you would see this on like old TV shows. They're going to build an overpass and then they're going to skip the town, altogether. There's a lot of famous people who came out of Jasper, which is what's so funny to me. I looked at a list that of course, you were on it, but Polly Holiday, who played Flo on Alice, Kiss My Grits herself, Jasper, Alabama.
That's right.
Butterbean, the boxing and UFC fighter, Jasper.
Woo-hoo!
George Lindsay, Goober from Mayberry. I mean, you're in an illustrious list of people here. And then actor Michael Rooker, that's a little bit more modern, another famous guy. So Jasper has this. What was in the water in Jasper that's bringing out all these entertainers?
Well, I don't know, but you might have to ask Tallulah Bankhead too.
That's right.
Who was probably, I guess she's probably the most famous of all. But well, Jasper was, you notice it growing up. I lived all over the South, and even some of the smaller auxiliary towns outside of Jasper, like Cordova, that I lived in, those were boom towns during the Second World War. So there was industry centered there. There was a spinner's plant where they made textiles, and there was a Allied Steel and places like that. So towns just sort of boom up depending on what's going on, And of course, in the 70s, it all kind of fizzled away. Industry and economics and trade routes drive a lot of it, I think. And the experiences that people bring when they're driving a truck or they're coming up, going in between these port cities, you learn a lot of things. And I actually grew up on the side of the road selling produce, so I met people from all over the world. They would come from, I'd be 13 years old, and like hot 20-year-old women would flash me and buy tomatoes, and it was wonderful. But those were different times, and it was innocent, and it's really nothing to it. But it was quite nice to have that connection, because we were stuck out in the country for the most part.
Yeah, that's interesting. It was a sign of things to come, though. You went from selling fruit and women flashing you to playing rock and roll music. And so how do you start playing rock and roll music? When do you get a guitar and start to realize that you're good at this?
11 years old, really. I wanted to play music from the time I was 8, but was frustrated and didn't know how to. And then I finally got an instrument at 11 and kind of never looked back from there. So as it stands now, I've been playing guitar over 43 years to date myself completely, but there it is.
Yeah, well, and were you singing too at a young age?
Yes, quite early. Most of the people, didn't want to sing when you were starting out. So I was kind of hey, I'll do it. I'm just dumb enough to do anything. But that kind of tended to help me as I went along in my career.
Yeah, well,
here's a banjo, play this. I don't know. Okay.
Well, I think it's worked out for you, obviously, because it could be really intimidating.
Yeah, it certainly could be. I mean, a banjo's fun, and I am from Alabama originally, so that's 2 and 2.
So you start playing with bands around town, right, when you're a kid?
Yes, childhood friends from school that I still keep in touch with to this day. And they all became musicians as well. So, and artists and, everything down the line, vocationally speaking. And then I moved to, once I went to college for 2 years on a music scholarship, or a liberal arts scholarship rather, but I was studying music. And after that, around the age of 18, I had joined my first kind of regional cover band, touring around the Southeast and doing college circuit stuff and meeting people, because then I moved to Birmingham after that.
Yeah, and so where does it go from there? You're playing the cover circuit, and you're probably starting to make some money. What else were you working on?
Well, I didn't do that circuit very long, actually. But what it led to was a band called Love Bang, which really was the first original band that I was ever involved with, and that was with 2 college childhood friends of mine, Tony Brock and Chris Baker, and a guy named Courtney McGuckin, who was working at Ardent Recorders in Memphis. And Chris and Tony had written a few songs, and with Courtney being the engineer on the off time, basically. Mm-hmm. And it got the ear of Jody Stevens from Big Star, and he was like, hey, this is really good music. So he signed Love Bang, that's what we called ourselves. Don't know why. It was my boneheaded idea, to a production deal with Ardent in Memphis. And so we recorded an album's worth of songs at Ardent, where they recorded Led Zeppelin 3, and I met Greg Allman there.
Wow.
Drank some beer with Dickie Betts, and drank a lot of tequila. Played through a lot of cool amps. Billy Gibbons left all of his stuff there. Like, that's where they did the Eliminator records, ZZ Top, Alex Chilton, a lot of just complete crazy history. So yeah, that's what happened.
So you make that record, and what happens with it?
Well, we did the normal. Hey guys, we're gonna take you and send you the new Daisy showcase, and we did the showcase circuit. You know, kind of before. Well, now everybody knows South by Southwest, of course, but you know, there's a number of these kind of showcasing festivals that used to go on in the day where people would put their horse in the race, and you'd see if you could attract major label interest. And nothing ever came from it, essentially. But fortunately, the music is still out there, and it's still some copies of it floating around. So
yeah,
I'm very proud of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a cool thing that it survives this time and the earliest thing that you put out, because you've put out a lot since. So as time goes on, the band Jellyfish is this. I don't know if you call Jellyfish a cult band, but the people who love it really love it. There's not a casual Jellyfish fan. People of that band are very passionate, and it's a very musical band. In 1993, they're on their second record, Spilt Milk, and they need a guitar player. So how do they find you, Eric?
Well, to continue the story with Love Bang, we played the the showcase stuff, and then finally we were like, oh, okay, whatever, let's just do some shows with other bands that we really dig. And of course, we were all producers fans, the producers, and Tim Smith was playing in the producers at the time, and he had got wind somehow that Jellyfish was looking for a guitar player, and that's how I found out the long and short of it. That they were looking for someone. They were mixing Spilt Milk in LA at the time. So I flew out and auditioned and didn't know if I'd got it. I also recorded, I think, 3 songs. No Matter What by Badfinger, a song I'd written, and gosh, I don't remember what else. And 2 originals I think I'd written. Mm-hmm. So I went out there and auditioned, and it was really chaotic. I'd never even been in. It was the first time I'd ever really been in Hollywood properly, and it was very tense. There was a lot on the line, as far as they were in the middle of these mixes. But yeah, and I auditioned in a hotel room with strep throat. That's right. Yes, wow. I had strep throat when I auditioned for Jellyfish, and it was painful. I guess I wasn't used to the smog or something. It's funny, but and I don't remember. I think it took maybe a week or 2. When they finally had a break, Roger called me, and that's when I knew that they were interested.
Yeah, and this is. Joining that band is not an easy thing. It's not the kind of thing where you got to be able to sing and play all these odd parts, as obviously as you know. So this is a big deal to get this gig. When you get the gig, do you realize, is the band dysfunctional at this point?
Well, I can only say that most good bands are dysfunctional to some degree. But to what degree can you be involved and handle it? Like it's an emotionally intense, chaotic situation to make music in the first place with a lot of people and come together and and weave your magic. So it was like, and Tim Smith and I both agree, it was like joining the Marines, like joining boot camp, because all we did was work on the material and how to perform it and how to sing together, which was the most important aspect. So that was 3 months before we even played anywhere. In a dank room rehearsal space that we used to share with American Music Club, and you know, San Francisco, and we'd have like Chinese food from some industrial park, great Chinese place, and just work like 12, 16 hours a day on doing it, because as you know, the records are insane, so you have to adapt the arrangements too for 4 people. So
Yeah, for sure. We're looking at a picture of you with Jellyfish here. So, and because the reason I asked about the dysfunction is because unfortunately it didn't last that long. Uh, Maybe a year, right?
that experience, yes, only a year. So and it was incredible while it lasted.
Yeah, and
So
there's some live footage of you out there. I believe there's a DVD with you, so people can take a look at that footage. Why did they decide to call it a day?
well, essentially, it was like a business transaction in a sense. They just didn't feel that they had anything else to say musically by collaborating at that point. And of course, people drift apart. That's the only thing I can say. A lot of people ask, and I really truly don't have the answer. But I think that was, the long and short of it. It was just not being able to grow together, and then it happens in all kinds of relationships, marriages and band relationships, and so.
Yeah, for sure. And you get personalities involved, and sometimes there's differences. You and Roger Manning, though, obviously stay in touch and work together a lot over the years, and also with Licorice Quartet, which we'll get to. But Doverman, which is so you put together a band with Roger Manning. You guys do start playing together, right? This is around '94.
Right. This is as soon as Jellyfish ended, and it's kind of a weird story, but I was working in a music shop in Birmingham, and it was the day that Kurt Cobain died, and then Roger called me at the store, which was odd, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm bored. Let's get together. Let's do something. Come out here." So that's what I did. I packed up everything that I owned in a '85 Bronco and drove over and did the LA thing where you're like, "Hey, I'm new in town. Can I sleep on your couch?"
Mm-hmm.
Do that for a bit, sleep, and then we had like one of those youth storage spaces in Ventura that we just set up our gear and lived there and wrote songs, and that's what wound up being songs for the first Imperial Drag record.
Yeah, and we're going to get to Imperial Drag also, but we can talk about Imperial Drag now a little bit. We'll go a little out of order. Imperial Drags, I really, what a great record. And, the single, Are You a Boy or a Girl? You were ahead of your time. That you could put that song out right now, and it would speak to more people than ever before. But, that was getting a little bit of play. And I think that, Eric, I feel like your career, you always have that one thing that's like, this is this really great thing, but now how do I get it to that next level? And the people who know about it really enjoy it. So talk a little bit about Imperial Drag and what was going on at that time.
Well, we were just merely trying to keep any kind of momentum that we could keep up. And I think we were we all were a bit hurt by the dissolution of Jellyfish, but I wanted to do something with a bit more edge. I was always like a classic rock fan as well, and Roger was sort of in the sphere of, yeah, let's break out our Steppenwolf records and Deep Purple or whatever, and try to make 60s garage rock, because that's really where we came together musically, I think.
Yeah, it also has it has that T-Rex and Bowie kind of vibe, also. I mean, really, like you said, it's a rock album.
Yeah, it's a rock album, but it's definitely in that classic sense, and of course, T-Rex changed my life. Like, I love T-Rex all the time. I just I don't. I'm kind of like maybe a weird sycophant like that.
Mhm.
If there's anyone, I think, as far as rock stars go, I just love the boogie rock. I think it's what the British call it, but um, and the simplicity behind it as well. It's almost more like the blues, you know, like Chicago blues, proper electric Chicago blues, you know, where people play with their fingers and stuff. There's just some kind of authenticity about it that, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's been topped in quite such a way. I mean, and then you got Tony Visconti, whom I adored.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's an attitude to that music as well. You know, there's definitely a vibe to it. You know, one of the funny things, though, I want to mention while we're around this time, and then we'll jump back to Slash, is the Brady Bunch movie. You and Roger Manning perform in Davy Jones' band. So how does that come about?
That was another, you know, happy accident of sorts. Mark Dansizen, who's a very well-known musician, drummer here, artist, uh, in town. We were playing with him, just kind of going over, looking for drummers, listening to the songs over at Mates Rehearsal.
Hmm.
And Mark had known about that they were looking for people to be in the Brady Bunch movie. So we showed up at Taft High School in the Valley, and was it Nora Ephron just went, "Oh yeah, you guys will work fine. Put them in some flannel shirts or whatever the hell." They stuck us in the chemistry lab and made us wait until the call to bring us in to do the filming. But yeah, we had some fun actually. It was interesting. That was the first movie set I've actually been on since, or you know, I think I went up to Jan. I snuck some vodka in and got like kind of nippered a little bit because we were waiting around for hours, and walked up to Jan. I can't remember the actress's name right now.
I think her name's Jennifer Cox, maybe.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah, I just started chatting with her. You know, like trying. I wasn't trying to take her out of her character. I'm no thespian. I'm a musician. Yeah. Anyway, it is funny.
So the track was recorded by somebody else, though. You guys just had to play.
Right. Yeah, it was a rendition of "Girl, Look What You've Done to Me."
Yeah,
And
they have you play the solo in the movie.
Right, which I don't think I learned.
I don't think anyone
But
noticed.
you know, I'm happy. I'm happy I got a close up. Well, it's just such wonderful fun, and that movie still has a charm about it. Very, very cool charm about it, I think.
Oh yeah, and it was definitely a fun thing. It's gonna play forever. And then, what was it like working with Davy Jones?
Going, hey, that's Davy Jones. Okay, rolling, and that's it. Bye, Davy Jones. I mean, you know, it's Davy Jones. He was cool. It's just like you're working, and
Sure.
there's no time to go. Hey, Davy Jones. My sister used to like totally masturbate thinking about you, which she probably did. I know she did. That and Bobby Sherman and David Cassidy. That was her trilogy of masturbatorial excellence as a teenager. I'm convinced.
And think about you missed the opportunity to share that with him. He probably would have loved to hear that.
He probably would have, but you know, I think they were talking about their golf swing or something at that point, and so it was purely, strictly professional on the set.
He's probably heard
Like,
it before.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm sure he has. I mean, wasn't it Eric Clapton that said that the Monkees had the best drugs?
I believe so. Yeah. So he's
Yeah.
he lived it up. So anyway, that's a cool experience. But let's go back a little bit. Slash's Snakepit. So this is around '94. Guns N' Roses is having all kinds of issues. Somehow you find out that Slash is looking for a singer. So tell me how that comes about.
Well, again, it was Mark Dansizen. He had known that Slash was looking for a singer because they'd already recorded the tracks for what became the Snakepit record, and I guess I thought about it because I really wasn't in a place. I didn't even have a place to live at that point, so I was pretty hungry for like, okay, I really need to get going. And Roger went, "Hey, why don't you go for it?"
Mhm.
And then Slash was like, "Yeah, I'm just doing this solo record. I'm sure Guns is going to do another record because, of course, Geffen would be like, 'Hey, where's next Guns record?' But in the meantime, I'll do the solo record." And it was really well received. I mean, by most people, maybe not Axl, but
Well, yeah, and before we get into how it was received, this is really an interesting time for Guns N' Roses. So allegedly, the story is that Slash was going to give these songs to Guns N' Roses at some point, and that Axl Rose didn't like these songs, and he went to make his record. And oddly enough, the Snakepit record is also on Geffen. And then in the band, you're in that original lineup with you. You have Gilby Clarke and you have Matt Sorum, who were obviously both in Guns N' Roses. Now, I believe at this time, Gilby had already been let go. Is that right?
well, no, no, not that I know of, because we played all the shows together. I mean, Gilby was on the shows. It was me,
No,
Brian Tishy, Gilby.
I meant from Guns N' Roses. Sorry.
Oh, he'd been cut from Guns. Gosh, I don't know. I don't really
His
know
story
a lot
was
about that timeline.
his story was like last show. I think it's Brazil or something. Axl told him, "Have fun playing your last show," and that was the end of his involvement. But Slash kept him involved with this, and then Matt Sorum. I think the story goes that, well, there's two things, Eric, that we'll get into about this. One story is that Axl said, you're not gonna have Matt in the band, being Guns N' Roses and Snakepit. And then there's another story on the internet, and you know how reliable the internet is, that says Matt was mad at Slash for not consulting him on hiring you as the lead singer. Had you ever heard that?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I love and respect Matt. I think he's a great drummer, and I mean, look, if you have a band with someone and you have a musical rapport, I think it's nice if everybody communicates. Sometimes feathers get ruffled, right? I mean, but I think he would agree that it did work out for the best for all involved, as to how the record was received. So,
He might have been better for Sorum's Snakepit. You know what I mean? If he needed that much control, maybe he needed his own project. So he didn't do any shows with you, did he?
no, he didn't. They
Brian
brought
T.
the amazing Brian Tishy in, and it was like, well, and Brian's a complete badass legend of rock as well. I mean, he's a dynamo. James Lomenzo on bass.
Who was in White Lion
And
and now plays with everybody. He's a great bass player.
fantastic. I mean, to hear the rhythm section pumping in the day was pretty damn killer. I mean, it was a spot on sound, and it crushed people's faces. I mean, missed some of that.
You played some pretty big gigs as well. I mean, you guys were playing, Donington. This is pretty big.
Yeah, that was the most amazing sight I've ever seen, because as far as my eye could see to the horizon, there were people, and I forgot what the estimate of the crowd was, but it was a hell of a lot. So, and then to hear Metallica, which was really something. I mean, it was because of Lars and Slash were buddies, so they just needed an opener. So to hear them come on stage was insane, man. I've never heard anything so loud rumble through the countryside in my life. It was enormous.
Yeah, I mean, these are this is definitely a far cry from Jasper, Alabama, to be playing these monster stages. Now, because Guns N' Roses was still together, I'm thinking for you, it didn't feel like, you weren't competing with Axl Rose. And you didn't have to sing the Guns N' Roses songs, right?
No, we didn't do any Guns out of respect for Guns,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, he would play a few riffs, I think, from a song or two, like in the middle of something, but we never really went there because it wasn't the kind of thing where, right, we weren't trying to even compete with Guns, and Slash was like, I think he was in the headspace of wanting to distinguish himself as a musician. That was really the aim of the project to begin with, my involvement, because I wanted to see those pieces of music and those great riffs take some kind of song form and have some kind of lyrical, essence to them. So it was a growth period, I think for everyone involved.
And, going back, Eric, I'm sure a lot of big name people tried out for this gig. I'm sure there was a lot of interest. Did you feel like you had a connection with Slash? Did Slash like the fact that you played guitar also? Do you think maybe he wanted, what your vibe was, which was different than Axl's?
Well, I don't know that for sure, but I do know that in the time that we did work together, we had a really nice rapport, very brotherly, and we did have that that love for guitar together as well. So yeah, I mean, gosh, some of the best memories I have is just he and I sitting there on the couch, sipping some whiskey and like playing a couple of acoustic guitars and watching some cooking show that he has up on his TV.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you always find that with different musicians along the way, and I've been very fortunate to do that with him because he's a incredibly soulful player that has not only a feel. There's just an identity there. It can't be denied. There's a flavor, and what I love to hear in a musician is not necessarily their proficiency, but just like, are they giving me the flavor of what they're about? And like, it's undeniable with him, of course.
Yeah, and he really seemed to like having you involved. He could have gone and done all this press, Howard Stern and these things by himself, but he liked having you with him. He did acoustic things with you and really, wanted to promote this as a band, which has got to be refreshing to you.
Well, I felt incredibly honored to be there in the first place. But music's been the aim the whole time. I mean, even right up to this point, it's like, okay, it's still really about the music, and can you be proud of it at the end of the day? And so there was other issues going on at the time because we were getting interest with Imperial Drag. We hadn't even cut our record yet, our first record, but we were already signed to Sony. We'd made an album deal. In fact, I signed the contract in Rotterdam, Holland, as I remember. And anyway, so it was kind of known before that I would be leaving off to do Imperial Drag. And I think by this point, GNR was like falling apart a bit more. So
they never did play another, they never did play another show. Geffen, the story is that Geffen said they're going to cut the tour support for this album while you guys are essentially touring for it. So I think Slash thinks, well, I'll just go back to Guns N' Roses. Now, obviously, they didn't play another show after that, but you had Imperial Drag to go back to.
Right. Yeah, we were just about to do our first, our first record. So I was excited about all of that. I was excited about working with Slash and and doing the putting my songs out. But at some point you have to choose and be a man and do your what you are legally obligated. In this case, I was under a contract. So, and Geffen, I must say, I don't know how the major label business is anymore, but at least when I worked with Geffen, it was top notch. I don't think I've ever had a better major label experience than with Geffen at that time. They really promoted the record well, and
And the record did well. And if Guns N' Roses wasn't on Geffen and the priority, who knows what would have happened next. Years later, and you probably can't answer this question, but years later they do revive Snakepit, at least Slash does. Was there ever any talk? Did he ever contact you about singing again?
No. I don't know what the hell the timeline is there, but Imperial Drag only lasted one album cycle, of course, before that fizzled out. And
I think you were an
so
Alice
I kind of
Cooper.
went. Well, yeah, I did that, but that was a bit later,
Okay.
a little bit later. And then I joined Alice Cooper because of basically like Eric Singer and Ryan Roxy. We started Glam Nation, or they approached me to be in it, and I'd been in the house writing songs, and I said, "Oh God, I want to play live." So that was the beginning of that fun, and then my beginning involvement with Alice Cooper.
So before we jump completely into Alice, when you find out Slash is making a record, do you think, how come this guy didn't call me? Is that go through your mind?
No, not really, because the pursuit of music, you never know what you're going to wind up needing, and there has to be someone thinking about these things as you go along. And there are times where you can even look at yourself and go, "Gosh, I shouldn't be playing this on this. Somebody else needs to do it." Or so yeah, I don't. My ego doesn't really seem to worry about that so much because I'm secure enough in what I do, I guess.
Well, knowing you, I know that you're not the type of person to dwell. That's not the kind of thing, and I'm not sure if it brings you any pleasure, but the record doesn't do very good. And the first Snakepit record did better. And it didn't really, it didn't really work for whatever reason.
No.
And so, my opinion, they made a kind of a goofy choice. I don't think it was the right thing, and who knows?
It's all about the times too, and the timing. I mean, it is with all of us, and I think understanding how to say, you have to sail up to having the right timing. You don't just think about it one day and there you are. Not to my knowledge. Like it's like having a pair of binoculars and you're in a ship and you look at the target of the desert, the island, or wherever you want to go to, and you have to sail up to it. But you have to swim like hell to get there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's for sure. So, have you spoken to Slash since?
I haven't. No, no, I haven't.
Snakepit ended.
Not in a long time.
You guys just kind of went your own way.
Well, yeah, I spoke to him a few years ago, I think, for a second, and just said hi. And then I've said hi through, the mutual friends, and but that's about it. I mean, everybody's so kind of on their own path at this point.
And it was a short time in your life. Obviously it was a big deal and people remember it, but this was a year of your life in a long career. Maybe a little more than a year.
Yeah, it was. And, well, I did crave the experience, undoubtedly. But I don't know. It's like you have to really kind of steer your own ship. So, and the way that these cards were laid out in my career and who I've been involved with, it's been a combination of a lot of luck and a lot of hard work behind the scenes too. So I hope my ship is staying true. That's all I can say.
Well, it seems that way for sure. But so, okay, this is Alice Cooper Band. This is a great lineup, obviously. Eric Singer, who's obviously now in Kiss on drums. Got Ryan Roxy, who's still in the band now. And I believe, is that Chuck Garrick on bass?
Yes, it is.
And
Indeed.
he's still in the band.
Yeah, he's still in the band. So yeah, there's the lineup.
Yeah, and there's you next to Alice. So this is you join on the Brutal Planet tour, 2001. Obviously, you're an Alice Cooper fan growing up. I can. That fits right into your.
You can smell it.
Yeah. And so, do the Glam Nation guys bring you into this?
Yeah, I would say it was I would definitely say it was Roxy and Singer. I've known Singer I've known Singer pretty much since I came to LA, and then I met Roxy once we kind of got into doing the Glam Nation thing, which were fun shows. I mean, we'd have confetti glitter cannons, and Ace Frehley would come and join and sit in, and anybody that got to attend those shows back in the late 90s, where it was a treat. So
yeah, there was definitely some fun stuff going on that maybe a lot of people missed out on. So okay, so after this, the record Dragon Town, and did you I think you wrote some songs on that record too, right?
No, I only did backup vocals.
Okay.
On that one. Yeah.
So the next one, Eyes of Alice Cooper, that one you're more involved in.
Yes, pretty heavily involved with that one. So that's co-writing between us all, and it was. We wanted to make a kind of a proper sort of Detroit punk raw sort of record, and so that's it's all cut live, which I'm really extremely proud of. I just love the fact that people should make records like that. We all know that we can do it at home and all that, but really the magic is when you can do it live in a room together. It's like nothing really competes. I guess it's just the fact that people don't have the expertise or know-how or money to afford such a thing, but I would recommend it, especially now that all this hopefully has passed and you can be in a room with people. Get in a room with people.
Yeah, and it's becoming a lost art. People are taking the easy way out in some cases. What's it like working with Alice Cooper? I'm sure it's an amazing experience.
Oh, working with Alice was fantastic. Few people have that kind of wisdom in all sorts of areas of life. There are people that are caught up in their world, but Alice has a sense of understanding about who Alice is and who he is, and I think he balances it all very well, and he does it very imaginatively. I mean, he's groundbreaking in so many ways, as we know. So he's a lot. I'm kind of a small fry. I'm not even that an interesting person. He was friends with Salvador Dali. I mean, so there you go. Yeah, and Peter Sellers, and just got to indulge in that area in the 70s where everybody actually hung out with each other. Again, going back to just socially hanging out. Harry Nilsson, Brian Wilson, anybody you can think of from those eras. So yeah, you billion stories.
I'm sure. And so what ends the run with Alice Cooper? How does that end?
I I basically got off the road and was like, had exhausted, I guess. I mean, it really boils down to what your body can take, and I did tend to practice this Stanislavski method back then, so I got off the road for a while and just that was how that ended for me, at least.
Okay, and then I believe after that comes Sextus. Is that right?
Right. Then I did released my first Sextus record, and that led on to doing another EP of 6 songs called Devil Angel, and now we're here to 2021.
Yeah, and so and for those who might not be familiar with Sextus, they're sort of like your they're sort of your solo records, but it's a character. You're the character of Sextus in a sense, and they're really great records. And I think people, I'm going to link in the description, Eric, as much of your music that we can find that people can go and purchase and listen to, because this is definitely a great time for people to catch up on some of your music that they might have missed. And yes, that brings us to present day Licorice Quartet. So Licorice Quartet is 3 members of Jellyfish who people have played in the band. Tim Smith, the bass player, Roger Manning, keyboard player, and then yourself. And so you're back again working with Roger. How does it come up to do this?
Well, essentially, and I just got to say too, before we get into Licorice Quartet, that I am working on more Sextus material. I've got another EP in the works, so cross your fingers that I get it done. Now, moving on to the Licorice Quartet, that began roughly in 2017 when Roger and Tim began talking on the phone. Roger was off tour at the time with Beck, I guess, and was like, "What are you doing, Tim? You want to write some music?" We never had that that opportunity in Jellyfish. We already had a connection, of course, a musical connection. And we did some limited things together over the years, Roger and I with Imperial Drag, or the Umajets record with Tim Smith's band, which I highly recommend if you haven't checked that one out. Roger and I are on that one as well. So we would all kind of cross-pollinate and help each other. So they started talking in 2017 and then asked me later. They were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Would you like to write some songs?" "Yes." And we got in a room at my studio and started fleshing out the material, going through ideas, going, that's good, that's shit, and coalescing things into having a dozen songs, which we do. Then we called in Jeremy Stacy, world famous drummer, to assist us in the percussion duties, and we recorded. So we recorded all of that within the space of, I'd say about at least the basics in about a month or so, and then we did subsequent finishing up sessions, singing together, singing vocals and all that at drummer from the Posies place, Frankie Sergusa, and kind of completed it that way. Then of course the lockdown hit. We were done before the lockdown hit on the first EP, but we did have to complete the second one, via file share and all that. So fortunately, we had most of it recorded.
So the plan was always to put out 3 EPs then, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yes, because we wanted to just sort of dip our toes back into the scene and go, "Hey, scene, what's going on?" "Hey, we don't sound like Tame Impala, but can you dig us?" And so we did that. Just kind of really, we also thought it was the material's not kind of something that you might be able to even get on the first listen. Maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on.
For sure.
So
This is not just it's not simple in any way. It is all kinds of different things. And
yeah, there's some pretty dense arrangements and crazy mixing and all the above. So,
which I think is what would be expected from you guys, all combined.
well, it was certainly for Roger and Tim and I, because we love singing together. That's kind of a vital part of the identity of the Licorice Quartet, or any time that we sing together, because we just have that history and time. I mean, you can work with someone and then not work with them for 20 years, and you can still pick up where you left off. There's just that synergy, I guess. I'm not trying to make it mystical. It's just we kind of think in ways where we can come together as this vocal organism without sounding too Art Garfunkel about it.
Well said.
But I love Art Garfunkel. Don't get me wrong.
Sure. Is the name Licorice Quartet from the Randy Metzger movie, the 1970 movie?
Indeed, it is. You caught us with our pants down.
But that,
But it is. I mean, huh?
what a cool fitting 70s kind of vibe. Randy Metzger was an adult filmmaker. I believe Licorice Quartet was a little bit more of a soft core movie, but he's I think his most famous adult movie was called The Opening of Misty Beethoven, which is considered one of the greatest adult films of all time. If you're a connoisseur of that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, who isn't? But yeah, I think in the case of that film, and that was Roger had brought that name to the table. Oh God, we had probably 850, 1,000 band name ideas we've been spitting out at each other, and we like the fact of, if you've seen the movie, of course you have, but that softcore thing, the titillation factor, I love. It was almost like Russ Meyer films as well, and not just titillation, but just playfulness. It's almost like playful innuendo and beautiful cinematography. I actually thought the movie was beautiful.
Yeah, these movies were
beautifully shot.
Yeah.
So we thought that at least fit our vibe more or less musically, because it kind of is playful, and there's songs that are very innuendo driven. Maybe not your typical ones. Maybe there are innuendos from the 16th century, but they're there. I promise.
So that's why, as you said, you got to give it a few listens. I enjoy that the photos, for the most part, are the three of you, yet the band is called Licorice Quartet.
Yes, and I guess if we had to consider anyone the quartet member, it would be Jeremy. But he lives in England, and King Crimson keeps him pretty busy. So that is almost a little bit of a joke there too.
Yeah,
we definitely.
And so we should point out, so since there's three members of Jellyfish from different versions, that Andy Sturmer really has stated that he has no interest in doing anything Jellyfish related again. He doesn't do interviews. He scores kids shows. I think he does a lot of Disney and cartoons and things, right? Right.
I think he does Scooby-Doo, and I mean all sorts of things behind the scenes. And he's very successful at it.
Did you ever speak to him again after Jellyfish?
Yes, I did one time. He actually hired me for a session for Puffy and Yumi, doing slide guitar on a couple of little bits. And yeah, we had a nice visit, and that was the last time I've ever seen him. I haven't really reached out to him, but it's hard to keep in touch with people over the years too. So I wish him all the best, of course.
I could be crazy, but he seems like a bit of a reclusive. He doesn't seem like he really wants to be out there.
Yeah, some people are very, very highly private, and that's to be respected. So, but you know, we all kind of keep up with each other through different networks and grapevines, and he appears to be doing pretty well. So, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, for sure. So we got to promote this Licorice Quartet so people know that they can get this. So there's 3 EPs. The first one, Threesome Volume 1, that came out in May of 2020, right in the midst of all this craziness, but a good time for people to listen to music. There wasn't much else to do. Threesome Volume 2 came out earlier this year, and Volume 3, you can tell us, it's supposed to come out pretty soon, right?
Right, we're currently working on it right now. So we're kind of clearing up some of the the commitments that we have doing different sessions, because on our website, thelicoricequartet.com, we are available for recording sessions, songwriting sessions, video chats, all sorts of things music related. So really, if you're interested in any of that, go to the licoricequartet.com. That's Lickerish Quartet. That's another part of the movie that people don't. They think licorice, but it's not the candy. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, that's go check us out there.
Yeah, and I'll put that link down. Also put links to the music, and then on YouTube, you guys made videos for a couple of the songs, which are great. And there's also lyric videos. So, one of the things about this crazy time is that music is very accessible. And so I think people will like this. And, Eric, in your career, you've also been a big fan of physical media. You put the Sextus record out on vinyl. These things are cost heavy, but yet you have this commitment to music and trying to get it out there in the way that it's meant to be. This type of music really does fit to put a vinyl record on.
Well, I must say, and I'm very happy that the kids today, at least, they really understand that, it seems. The experience of something physical and holding it, playing it, meditating over it. So as long as there's a way to put out vinyl, I'm going to do it. That's the long and the short there. We did finally send our EP to vinyl. I wanted to say to anybody that ordered the vinyl that we did just now get it out, but there was a big floods in Texas, and it ruined some of the vinyl plants, and there was damage and whatever. So some problems there for a while, but.
And it takes time with vinyl anyway, because I don't think people realize there's not so many places making this. So their vinyl plants are backed up, even without floods and these things. They're backed up because people who are trying to get their records done, and now people are putting out their old records. So it's a long process, and obviously a labor of love for you to do it. But I think that the fans of this type of music really do appreciate that.
Well, I hope they do, and I'd like to thank anybody that supported this newest endeavor with the Licorice Quartet. Anything throughout my career too. If it wasn't for people that listened and found a liking to it, I wouldn't be able to continue. So, thanks to everyone.
Yeah, and so again, in the description, we'll have links to the website, and so if you want to get involved with some of the things they have on there, we can do that. There's be plenty of links to purchase the music, which helps support the channel, and then also helps support the artist, which is what we really need to do so that we keep getting original music, because otherwise, people won't be able to continue. Eric, I want to thank you for spending a little time with me today.
Hey, thanks, Jason. It's always good to talk and visit with you, and I wish you all the best coming up this year. And once the world opens, we'll get together and celebrate then.
Well, and Eric, what I learned something new about you today. I'm pretty familiar with your career, a fan of your music, but what I learned today is that you like to get up early. I said, Eric, what time do you want to do this? You said 10 a.m. I was like, what am I, Good Morning America? All of a sudden, I feel like Regis, It's like, boy, Eric's is up. You're up cracking those records. You got music to make.
Yeah, it actually, the day begins early. There are oftentimes I'm in the studio, at least working by 6 or 7, even sometimes earlier, just depending on how I feel. But I find that I can do a good stretch of work if I start early in the morning, because, gosh, there's just so much of it to do. So
Yeah.
kind of gives me a little leg up on it. But I mean, I'd rather be. I also have cats, so you've got pets, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I got cats. Yeah, they get up.
Yeah, they'll wake you up. They want to get up, and you're like, okay. So not too bad though.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Listen, it was worth getting up, Eric. I was glad we had this conversation. I hope people enjoy it and people check out your music because that's really important right now. And yeah, we'll be talking soon, Eric. I'm starting to get calls. And I've been really good at just sort of putting bands together on short notice as long as I got guys like you. So we will see what happens.
Right on, my friend. Well, I look forward to it.
Okay, talk soon. Thank you.